Welcome to this week's edition of the Old Paratrooper podcast. But before we get started, I want to tell you about our new sponsors, Veterans for Veterans. If you served after 1987 and your hearing's taken a knock from your time in the forces, these are the people to speak to. They've helped thousands of veterans like us claim compensation for tinnitus and hearing loss. They're ex-military themselves, so they genuinely get it.
It's free to check if you qualify, and the claims are no win, no fee. To get started, click the link in this video or visit veteransforveterans.co.uk.
Welcome to today's podcast, and I'm proud to announce today's guest, US Army veteran, motivational speaker, comedian, actor, songwriter. The list is endless. Bobby Henline. How you doing, Bobby?
Doing great, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for taking the time to come on. I always say that initial bit is the right mouth for me to get the introduction part. Once I've got that bit done, it's plain sailing. But no, thank you very much for taking the time to come on. I really, really appreciate it. How I run the podcast, quite simply, I like to start at the beginning, get a bit of a background about yourself, where you grew up, where you're from, and what led you into the military and beyond. Yeah, so over to you. Whereabouts are you from in the States?
So I grew up in California. My dad, stepdad, grandfather, they're all Navy. I did not want to be in the military. I had long hair mullet thing going on. I was a DJ at the roller skating rink in high school. Started going down the wrong path. And then my uncle talked me into joining the Army when I was 17 years old because he knew I needed it.
I hear that a lot when I speak to military veterans from the UK and obviously over in the States, well, from all around the world, that
Right.
It tends to be kind of going down the wrong route, and the military seems like an option for the straight and narrow, and it seems like that's the case with yourself as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my uncle was 5 years older than me, and he, more like a big brother, he needed himself too, and he wanted to go in. What we do here, I don't know if you guys do it, we do the buddy system you can do, and you join in with somebody.
Yeah.
And you get to go to the same MOS and stuff like that, or same job. And my uncle failed the test to get in, so I had to go in by myself.
Right, so you're left on your own.
Yeah, I'm like, thanks, Unc, I'm out.
Yeah, that's a little bit different. We have something usually when people go to battalions, when you come through training, someone can claim you to that battalion. So you end up going to that battalion where they're at, if it's a relation or a friend, same sort of sketch. So I'm interested to talk about, I've not had many US veterans on the podcast. I've had maybe Jovan Qualls, ex-Navy SEAL. I had Jovan on quite early on in the podcast. So I'm interested to learn about how the process goes with the US military, what your basic training is like, your deployments, all that sort of stuff. So when you go and sign up, do you go to a careers office and then they say, right, we're going to put you in what unit, and you decide?
Right. You go to the career office, you take the test, they decide by that test, they can tell what job you best fit for them. Right. Basically with me, they told me I could drive a broken truck or fix a broken truck.
Right.
Like, how do you drive a broken truck? Like a tow truck? You know, tow things around? And they said, yeah, something like that. So I was like, all right, I'll do that. That sounds easy. So I became a truck driver in the military.
Okay. Was that like, did you have other options, or because you went on to serve, which we'll probably come on to, was you attached to the 82nd Airborne? Is that right?
No, yeah, I was with the 82nd. So they have airborne truck drivers.
Right.
So I went in twice. I was in 89 to 92, where I served in Desert Storm at 19 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay, talk me through that. How was that?
Yeah, it's different. Definitely different now, looking back, that I can compare it to, Iraqi freedom and Afghanistan and stuff. When I compare that to today's wars, that was a piece of cake. But of course, when it was happening, that was scary shit. I was a driver, but they made me when I drove a fuel truck. So I was attached to an artillery unit. And so I'd fill up all the tanks and stuff during their missions and raids over the berms. Not too bad. We got shot at a couple times there with some other artillery, but no small on fires back then. Just basically doing raids. And, that was a quick war. The push was over in 3 days. We started a little bit before that, but, maybe 5 days of battling, actual war total that I did then. Besides sitting in the desert for, 6 months doing nothing, playing volleyball.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. A beach with no water. It's just middle of nowhere, digging
So
holes.
what was your decision after that? So you made a decision to to leave after that?
Yeah, I left after that at 20 years old. I thought I'm going to go back to college, do this, do that. Went back home to California. At that time, I was stationed in Texas. That's where they put me at Fort Hood. And then I go back home to California. I meet my ex-wife. As a military, I know what you guys are military. We married 2 or 3 times. It's a tough life.
Yeah. I'm divorced as well. Yeah.
So then I go back and I meet somebody. We have children, start a family. 10 years later, 9/11 happens.
Yeah.
During the timeout, I drove trucks. I worked for the railroad, did railroad repair. I did some roofing and every kind of odd and end jobs I could think of. I did. But then after 9/11 happened, I went back in. I signed to go back in, and I was back in the Army the next month, the very next month. Actually, on today, October 31st.
Oh, wow.
I joined back in 2001. I was back in basic training. Because
Oh.
like our military, if you get out for 5 years, after 5 years, you have to go. If you go back in, you have to go back to basic training. You pretty much start from scratch again.
Well, I bet that's a shock to the system, isn't it?
Yeah, especially being 30 years old, trying to be young again and doing the
Oh.
basic training stuff. And I wasn't a paratrooper the first time,
Right.
but the second time when I came in at 30, I signed up to be a paratrooper.
You
So I
saw
had
the
to come
light.
back in. Yeah, so I wanted it the first time. My mom had to sign for me because I was 17 years old. So your parent has to sign for you to go in the military. So then she wouldn't sign for me if I was going to be a paratrooper. I had one uncle that went in the Army and his parachute tangled up and he ended up drowning.
Yeah.
So she was like, no, you're not going to be a paratrooper if I sign for you. But this time I didn't need her permission. So I signed up at 30 years old. The Army told me I had to come back in as the same MOS, the same job. I had to be a truck driver again, but they let me jump out of airplanes this time.
Awesome stuff. No, good choice. Good choice. So
Yes.
I don't, and excuse my ignorance, I don't know. I have worked with some 82nd and 101st Airborne guys in my time in the military over on joint exercises in the UK.
Right.
But I don't know the selection process for the US Army paratroopers. So if you want to run through what the selection process is like, because obviously we have a kind of an extended training for the British Airborne where we do a
Right.
series of tests and stuff. Is it similar in the
Yeah,
US?
you do a series of tests, and then just getting into it, you have to be in a physical shape, obviously. In being 30 years old, so in our military, the physical fitness test, as you get older, it gets a little easier for you.
Yeah.
They cut back on it. But if you're going to go to a paratroop or airborne school, you have to pass the test as if you're 17 to 21 years old. You can't pass as a 30-year-old. You can be 30, 35 if you're going, but you still have to qualify with the same physical standards as the young men and women. So I had to, pass the test as a 17-year-old, basically at 30 years old.
Which sounds probably to a lot of people like, yeah, but a lot changes from 17 to 30 physically, doesn't it?
Yes. But I definitely got the best shape of my life in my 30s and 40s are probably the best shape of my life. And of course, now I'm in my 50s and look at me, I'm burnt out.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a lot of criticism for laughing about this.
Yeah,
You can't do it to me, Bob. It's not fair. But no, so obviously the paratrooper training and stuff. So at 30 years of age, really challenging. And then you kind of ended up in your unit, which was 82nd.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay,
That was awesome. It was great to be in 82nd. That was my dream to become a paratrooper and be in the 82nd. So I got there and probably was there for 6-7 months total. And then I had to deploy already 2003 now after all that training. Now it's 2003 and Iraq's about to kick off. And so I was in initial invasion into Iraq again in 2003 with the 82nd. I did 12 months over there in that year.
Yeah, I mean, look, your deployments are a little bit different. We used to do the 2-year deployments in Northern Ireland, but our deployments tend to be sort of 6 months. So I know that a lot of like US soldiers, they go and they do extended tours, which is a big toll on you mentally, isn't it? Because it's a long time away from your family.
Yeah, it's a big toll mentally. We signed up for it. We love it. You can't lie. You adjust to it. You get used to that life over there. But it is a big toll on the whole family. That's the hardest part, is being away from the children and the spouses and stuff, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I always used to joke. I mean, I did Macedonia with the British Army, and we were living under one roof in a factory on camp beds, eating rations. And a mile down the road, there was a US camp, and it had a mobile Burger King. So we were like, wow, this is really how our American cousins live. They have it, kind of. So you have a lot of equipment, a lot of money is invested into your core in the military, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. And we build those just like in Baghdad around the airport there and buy up. Eventually, I remember it was 2004, I think, when they finally brought in the Burger Kings and stuff. And we were at a forward operating base where you didn't have that, but we would drive an hour drive in danger just to go get some Burger King. Like, let's go over that base and get some supplies. Wink, wink. We need supplies.
IEDs, like shoot
Yeah.
out, doesn't matter. It's got to be worth a whopper, right?
Like, it's worth it. It's worth it, right?
Yeah, I kind of remember. I remember I worked in Iraq after I left the military in the private security industry, and I used to go into the Camp Victory and operate out of there for a period of time, and I was just amazed and in awe of the US kind of the camps, because they're like small towns, aren't they? In Iraq. Camp
like
Victory, everyone had you had
Yeah.
a car and you had to drive across it. You had gyms that are better than in my hometown. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, those bigger bases like that had everything. It was crazy.
Yeah, green beans. I remember the green beans
Green
from
coffee. Yeah, the coffee.
Yeah.
That would pop up. Yep.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. So how did you find the Iraq tours? Because obviously you did 4 Iraq tours. Is
4
that correct?
total. So that's Desert Storm, and
Yeah.
then 3 of the OIFs, Operation Iraqi Freedoms. I did. I was there 2003, 2005, and in 2007.
Wow.
And yeah. But, no, I was just saying, I no one wants to go to war. No one wants to be in a situation. But after going over there and learning about the Iraqi people and getting to know them, and it's not the war stuff we like; it's the humanitarian things. When you get to return the country the best we can to the way it was, when you're helping rebuild a school, those type of missions are what I really enjoy. When you're going to the town, you're bringing them food, you're clearing out the bad guys and making it safer for them. And those are the type of things I really enjoy.
And I think that is that's a really kind of good thing to say, because I think most soldiers enjoy that humanitarian side. They enjoy sort of building the cultures back. And I know you could argue we go in there and then everything gets smashed to pieces and stuff, but
Right.
and there's a lot of political stuff in the background that you kind of people tell you. But when you're there in person, your job is quite simply is get rid of the bad guys and protect the good people, isn't it?
Yeah, and we try to do our best to do that and then rebuild it. And again, they don't see a lot of that on the news, the good stuff.
No, they don't. They don't. And that is such a shame, because I've met so many Iraqi people that I'm still in touch with now that worked on contracts with us, and
Yep.
they ended up kind of getting visas for the States, and they live over in the States now because they worked on US contracts. And I work with quite a lot of American soldiers, and like the sense of humor and the camaraderie is the same. I don't know what the US kind of think of the British soldiers, but hopefully they have us held us in good light as well.
Oh, of course, yes. British, Canadians, Australians. I've learned this throughout the 18 years that I've been injured. We've all been through the same stuff. We're human beings. It doesn't matter where you're from. We heal the same way, physically, mentally. We need the same stuff to heal. And brothers in arms, no matter what country you're from, we support each other because we understand what you've been through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say veterans look after other veterans and have a lot of time for other veterans, because, again, same stuff we've been through, a lot of the same stuff with encountered. Obviously, the 4th tour of Iraq, we're going to obviously cover that because it's a big part of your life, a life-changing event for yourself. So if obviously, I'm sure you've talked about it many, many times, but for the viewers at home, explain what happened into your 4th tour, if you would, if that's okay, buddy.
Of course. I was in my 4th tour probably not even a whole month. About the 3.5 weeks I was in country when a roadside bomb blew up underneath my vehicle. They said it was 3 to 4. When I saw the report afterwards, it was 3 to 4 artillery shells, 155 rounds. So those who are not in the military don't understand that. If you've seen the movie Hurt Locker, those big old tank rounds that they shoot, those are all, there were 3 to 4 of them buried together that blew up underneath my Humvee. It
Wow.
threw the Humvee 20 meters, flipping it upside down, obviously catching on fire. I was the only survivor out of the 5 men in the vehicle. And I was burnt over 38% of my body. About 40% of my body was burnt. Full thickness, not just second or third degrees. You can see my head was burnt to the skull. If you don't know if you can tell, it's kind of lumpy. That's where they shaved parts of the skull off that they weren't functionable. To grow the tissue back, they had to get rid of the bad parts of the skull and everything. Had my hand for 2 years. I kept telling them to take it off. It was in the way. It just caused pain. So they finally listened to me. They wanted time to try to work on it. So I gave them that time. And once they took it off, I was so happy. It helped out so much. But it took, let's say, 6 months inpatient. 48 surgeries is what I've had so far. And could be more. 18 years later, we could be doing a couple more surgeries, basically around my eyes, my eyelids, stuff like that. Last surgery I had was 5 or 6, maybe 6, 7 years ago now. I lose track of time so much. But 3 years kind of total recovery to where I felt comfortable to who I was again, or the new me, the new normal, as they call it. Yeah, it took a while to get used to it. I prayed to God every night for almost 2 years until they finally got skin to work on my head and got that closed up to just take me. I had survivor's guilt. I didn't want to live. 4 of the men died in that Humvee that were younger, that signed up for the first tour or first war that didn't know they were getting into. I'm the old man that signed up the second time knowing that I was getting into, knowing that I could take the things that I learned from Desert Storm, that I could help the young men and women that are about to go to war today for what happened to our country. So I knew what I was getting into, and I felt like it burned in my family. But I did learn this, after all these years, and I know a lot of us as veterans have survivor's guilt. People in general that lose somebody in their life can have survivor's guilt. You get it for different reasons. But I know for the reasons we have it, I think about, what if I didn't make it home? I had to finally put myself in those shoes of the men and women that had died. And if I didn't make it home, what would I want for the ones that did? And of course, I'd want them to live their life to the fullest. I want them to chase their dreams, be with their families. So that's what we got to do, because that's what they want for us. Does it hit us again now and then? 18 years later, I still go, oh my God, I have a blessed life. And I start feeling sorry for the families of the ones that we lost, and especially the ones in their Humvee with me. But I got to remind myself that they want me to keep living. They want me to keep chasing my dreams, to keep serving and helping others. That's the best way we can honor and respect the ones we lost. Can you imagine if I just sat on my couch crying, poor pitiful me, I'm alive? That's horrible. So they would have died in vain. That'd be disrespectful to them and their families. So I keep going. I keep their names alive. I keep doing whatever I can to help and serve. And podcast what you're doing. You're helping continue this by getting the word out there. Sharing our stories is one of the most powerful things we can do as a human being, veteran or not. So many of us go through different things in life, and I'm on a tangent now, but
Go, you go.
A lot of people tell me, Bobby, I can't complain to you because of what you've been through. I haven't been through something so severe. I'm like, bullshit. You have. The worst thing you know in your head is equal to the worst thing that I know in my head. The worst thing that's happened to you is equal to the worst thing that's happened to me. It's mentally. Physically, maybe it's not the same, but that's the easy part. You figure that out. I mean, look, I got one hand, but I've been skydiving, surfing, I ride a motorcycle. I keep living. You can keep living with one hand, no hands. I've seen people do it. But mentally is where we all lose that battle. Not all of us, obviously, but that's where the biggest battle is in our minds. And that's what that's where the suicide prevention comes in. It's like, how do we get our minds in the right spot? It's not something that's going to go away. You just can't erase your memory and be like, okay, I can forget all that. It's something you learn how to live with. And part of that is the survivor's guilt. Part of that is the things we've seen. the trauma you've been through. And again, no matter what your trauma's been, whether you're a first responder, veteran, someone who lost a loved one in a car accident that you were with in that car, that type of stuff can lead to survivor's guilt, cancer, all kinds of different things. But you got to remember, it's all equal. It's the same that somebody else is going through. So we share our stories to let someone know they're not alone. It's that simple. You don't realize, you think there's some magic formula of medicine. There are that stuff that helps with that. But when it comes down to it, you got to believe in it. Believe that you can make a difference by sharing your story. You just don't know what happened. I mean, that's how I got here today. Who thought I would be so injured and do, like you said, acting, writing songs, writing poetry, doing stand-up comedy, a motivational speaker. I'm a dumb kid that dropped out of high school, joined the Army so I didn't go down the wrong path, and just turned my life around. And I don't like to say I'm bragging, like, look what I did. I was on this TV show, that movie. I did comedy all over the world. I went back overseas doing comedy for the troops. It's not like, oh, look at me, I'm so cool. It's, look at this dumb guy. This dumb airborne truck driver can do it. You can do it, right? You can do it. Anybody can do it with the right mindset.
And that you know what, everything you've just said there, obviously the mindset is what we kind of talk about, and this is why I find it so inspiring to have guests like yourself on that can just sort of tell people out there, look, that things happen, bad things happen, but you're able to kind of move on and kind of still push forward and be successful and be kind of content and happy in your life with your family after these kind of bad things happen. And that is like true testament to your character. I love that mindset. I find that incredible. That you're so positive, and you're also not only positive, but you're wanting to give back. It's like you say, a lot of people in your circumstances could or would curl up and just be like, no, I don't want to do anything. I just, sort of become really poorly with the mental health. I obviously expect over that 18-year period, you've had your own kind of mental struggles with that, Bobby. I'm sure you have. How have you combated them? Have you combated them through the work that you do now? Has that helped?
Exactly. Giving back, helping others, that definitely helps deal with it. And like I try to tell people, like, oh, I don't just wake up all happy every day. Like, I'm going to go write a new joke today and be happy. No, I'm an old grumpy man most of the time. My wife will tell you. I still have those struggles. Sometimes my anxiety gets the best of me still today. Even though I might go to the same gym, the same grocery store that I go to all the time, sometimes I'll show up in the parking lot and it just doesn't feel right. And I'll sit in that car and I won't even get out of the car. I'll drive around and then just go back home and try to start over again. That still happens to me. So it's not like I wake up and I figured it all out and it's a piece of cake. I do go home and pout. And I tell people, give yourself a pity pot timeout. These are normal feelings, especially we are normal for the experiences that we've been through. And this stuff's going to happen and it's okay. It's going to happen. And once happens enough times, you say, all right, I know what this is now. I'm just going to give myself that pity pot timeout. I'm going to give myself that break. But then I'm going to yell at myself after a while. I'm going to go in the closet. I'm going to punch the clothes. I'm going to look in the mirror. I'm going to cry about what happened to me, what I saw, the losses. But I'm going to get it out. And then I'm going to start over again and get back out there, go back to the gym the next day, go back to the grocery store, whatever I was trying to accomplish. I'm going to go back there and do it again and try it again until I get it right. And it's something that we're always going to have to do, because if you don't get it out, that's when it comes out on the road rage. That's when you're out having a couple of drinks with a buddy. Someone says something stupid. Next thing you know, you're in a bar fight. You're releasing it the wrong way. You're not mad at those people. You're mad at yourself and the stuff you've been through, but you just need to get it out. These are natural, real feelings.
Yeah, and I just love the way you come across and the way that you put it, and it's so simple, but yet I think people need to hear it sometimes, especially
Especially when you're feeling it. Like, I can say that now, but when I'm in that moment, I'm just angry, mad. I don't want to talk to nobody. I mean, it can be something so lame that I get up in the morning, I'm feeling good, and I want to have some pancakes today or some waffles. And then I go in the fridge and find out there's no waffles in there. Like, I swore there was waffles in there. Now I'm angry because that one little thing like that can set me off to now. Nothing's funny. The whole day is ruined because I couldn't have the waffle that I wanted. It's so dumb. I get mad at the dumbest things. And then I'm mad at myself for being mad about that. And then I just pout and cry and just, it's so dumb. It can ruin my whole day. One little thing. And I try not to let it happen, but it does. It can happen. That easy, that simple.
Yeah, I bet. Well, like you say, it's like things do set veterans off in general. I think, yeah, I get where you're coming from on that. I can relate to a certain extent with certain things you've said there. What I'd like to talk to you about is like I do a lot of raising awareness over here as well
Right.
for the treatment of veterans by the MOD after they leave. Okay, we've not got it down very good. There's a lot more that can be done over here in the UK in supporting veterans after they leave the MOD. So what I'd like to touch on, Bobby, if you'd be happy to share, how was your treatment by the US Army after you have left? How have they looked after you and your family?
Yeah. So for me and the ones that are obviously severely injured during combat, it makes it a little easier for us. I will say that when I got out of the hospital, I have a medical retirement. They give me enough money, and any bills or medical stuff I need is covered. I have, like I said, a retirement. I can put a roof over my head. I can put food on the tables. I have enough to do that for sure. Medically, anything I need, they take care of. So I'm set up that way. Now, when it comes to the mental side of it, there are programs that help you, and they have therapists and social workers that will work with you. But a lot of us, like, I'm fine, and we push it away.
Yeah.
I got this. I can deal with it. It is there. A lot of us don't like to ask for help. As far as the government goes, the stuff is there. There's more red tape that probably shouldn't be in the way. Trying to get through it, and so a lot of us get frustrated. So if you're obviously not physically injured into the war zone, but you were in the service, and maybe you spent some time over there, but you weren't physically injured, but mentally we're never the same. It's a little bit harder to prove stuff and to get the help you need. Unfortunately, and they get frustrated with the system. Filling out the paperwork. I know one for myself. If I had to fill out a lot of that paperwork, I would refuse the help because the paperwork overwhelms me. I can't do it. I'll get mad. I'll throw something away. Forget this. I just don't need the help. I'll go on without it. And so I know that's happening to a lot of the veterans as they're getting frustrated with the system. And then on the public side, a lot of people that respect the veterans and appreciate what we've done set up nonprofits, and they help us that way, even mentally, and try to get us help that way. And those groups have been, I don't know, to me, I see them being more successful because once they get one or two veterans in that have been through one of their programs, whether it's for mental health, physical, and everything, their whole body workout, is now they got a veteran that's been through that. We'll talk to other veterans, and that helps get them in, and it's without going through the red tape of the VA system here.
Yeah, we have. It sounds like it's better equipped. I hear it's sort of a mixed bag over here because I know of some guys that have been injured in Afghanistan and Iraq, and then they've received actually 5-star treatment. They've been looked after, and then on the other hand, there are other people that have suffered similar injuries, but then have kind of had to fight tooth and nail to get sort of looked after by the military. And I agree with you totally there. The mental aspect is still lacking. I suppose because the mental aspect is a really difficult one to prove. Physical injuries are physical injuries, whether you're missing limbs or you have burns, they are visible, but mental injuries aren't. So they're harder to prove. So people, I guess, don't believe them. Do you think that's part of it?
Right. Oh, that's a huge part of it. Trying to understand it, because you could take 4 of us, same exact age, put us in the same Humvee all year, put us out there for 12 months. All 4 of those men or women see the exact same thing. Nothing's different. They come home, they all process it differently. It all depends on their background. What kind of trauma did they have as a child? What kind of trauma, just genetically, how they're made. Are they a high-strung person to begin with? How do they process things? So all those things matter. That's why we all process it differently. And you could say, I hate it. I hate when other veterans go, "Oh, well, you're not a war veteran. You stayed on the fob the whole time. You know, you never left the base." No, that person was stressed just as much as you know. Even when you're on the base, you're getting mortared or your friends are leaving. You're stressed out about that. You want to be out there with them, thinking, "Oh man, what if I was on that convoy with them? Could I have made a difference and saved a life or two?" So mentally, that beats you up just as much. And so, yeah, again, I think when they come back and they see their records of wherever they were stationed, and they go, "Oh, well, that base was nicer than this base. I don't know what you're complaining about." They still have a legitimate complaint, and that's another issue I think we have out there with believing. You know, like I said, you could all experience the same thing and process it differently.
Yeah, that is a very, very fair point. And I fell foul of that myself quite a few years ago. And I judge people that are sort of suffering with PTSD, and I'm open about it. I've obviously changed. Now I know more. I'm kind of more and research more. But I question people, and we go, well, he served on the same tours that I did. Why has he got PTSD? But I'm fine, and a lot of people are fine. And then you kind of think, and then that's wrong to judge. And you knocked the nail on the head there. You said it's how you perceive it. Everyone's perception is massively different, isn't it? You did make me laugh there about the mortars, though, because you'll remember as well. You know, when you first arrive in country in Iraq, the first few times you get mortared, you run for that hard cover, the concrete with your helmet and your weapon.
We're running into each other.
And then fast forward 2 or 3 weeks, you kind of might get out your bed and get under your bed and go, "Oh, I'm not running for the shelter." And then after several months, you're just like, "I'm not even getting out of bed now." It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, you get angry. You're like walking back from chow and you hear this thump, thump. I'm like, is that what I think it is? Yeah. Oh my God. So now I got to get back. I got to do accountability. You're just like taking your time, watching everybody else run around, the newbies run around panicking.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. It's funny with that. I remember it really well. So, obviously pushing forward. I mean, I've got to ask you, why you decided comedy? Okay.
Yeah.
What now? I know, like I talked to you before, like off air. I said about the dark sort of sense of humor that the military have. Yeah, we all have that. You know, first responders. I think it's the same sort of dark sense of humor where people, perhaps civilians or people that have not encountered the sort of things that you've encountered and some of the stuff, don't get it, do they?
No, they don't. It was hard. It still is sometimes to get them to laugh at some of the stuff. But I think as a human being, you have to laugh. You have to be, it's best medicine. As a human being, laughter, you know, whatever you've been through. But the lives that we lead as in the military, as a first responder, the things you see, doctors, nurses, you have to dehumanize people at some point during that to deal with what's happening around you so that you can continue to do your job. And then all that comes back to haunt you later. But at the time and in the injuries, laughter, that dark humor it's a coping mechanism, and it's a defensive mechanism. It also helps put other people at ease, right? It diffuses them when they don't know how to talk to you about something or about your injuries, especially when they see your injuries. If I make them laugh right away, they feel more comfortable asking me more questions. So again, that's how I dealt with it when I'm doing the physical therapy. How do you deal with that pain in there? Some people listen to music and they just kind of blanked out. Others would just have conversations. I would just kind of make fun of what was happening and others around us. There's a Marine who lost both legs above the knee and he's walking for the first time. And it's awesome to see our brother. Like, we're proud of this. And someone, after he took 7 steps, someone said, "Well, how do you feel?" He said, "Well, I don't know, man. Half of me feels like..." No, you can't say that anymore. Technically, that's all of you. That's like me saying, on the other hand, like, there's certain things we just can't say anymore.
But it's got. I like that. I always kind of relate to a story of a British paratrooper who lost. He was IED'd in Afghanistan, and he lost his leg. I'm unable to recall which battalion it was, but he was in a coma in hospital, and the lads dressed him up while he was unconscious in a coma. They put a pirate hat, an eye patch on him, and a parrot and stuff, and took a photo and had it framed and put on the side of his bed for when he came out of the coma. And I just think, you know, that sort of dark sense of humor, like you said, is a coping mechanism, and it gets through people through the tough times, doesn't it?
It does. It made the people at the hospital laugh. Nurses and PTs and OTs, the physical therapists, they would stop by my room after their shift and just come visit me to have a laugh because they had a bad day at work. I would go, even when I was out of the hospital, I'd go back in for visits. For a long time, I had to wear eye patch over my eye. I'd put a googly little eye sticker on the outside of my patch and come walking around the hospital. I dressed up as Santa during Christmas and visit the guys that were still in the hospital and made jokes about someone left the fireplace on when I came down at Christmas. Just stuff like that, goofing around. That my my occupational therapist, when I had my hand amputated, she thought I was so funny that I should try stand-up comedy. And that's how I got into it. She kept nagging me and bugging me. So I finally said, all right, I'll try it if you leave me alone. I'll show you. It's not going to work. Like we talked about, the general public won't be able to laugh at this dark humor. There's no way. So I had a doctor's appointment. I had to fly to California to LA for a doctor's appointment. So I was out there. I tried stand-up comedy for the first time in LA and nobody laughed. But one of the other comics gave me a compliment. And it was good therapy. It felt good for me. Like wherever I went, I get stared at no matter what. Especially back then, even though it's healing. I mean, you see me now, and you're like, oh, this guy looks messed up. It was worse. So throughout those healing stages and all those surgeries, I got stared at no matter where I went. I go into stores, people just malls, kids, people just stare at you. They don't know they don't like. How's this guy walking around? Which is great. Like today's Halloween. And I know you guys celebrate a little bit differently there, but the costumes, like today, I look normal. I get to go around and everybody's like, wow, nice makeup. I'm like, thanks. My day.
No way. Was the comedy what came first then? Because I know, like I said, I listed the accolades at the start.
Yeah.
Was that what you decided first, and then that led on to the other stuff?
Right, the comedy. People are like, well, how do you do the comedy? We got to hear the story. How'd you get through all this and become laughing at the end of it? So then I started sharing the story, become a motivational speaker and stand-up comedian. Been doing both for 15 years now. And then you got people making movies about wounded veterans. And hey, what would be great to have a wounded veteran play a wounded veteran? So that's how they contact me through social media if one of the producers happened to see my stuff. And that's how I played a Marine in a movie. I played a World War I veteran burnt by mustard gas in another movie. And then one of the famous TV shows, Shameless.
Yeah.
I got to be one episode of Shameless. I got to say 2 words. One word was edited or cut. So I got one word in there, was yes. I call it my 15 seconds of flame.
You can't. Look, that's. I just love the fact that it led on. Again, it's down to your mindset. It's led on, and it's like I hear this now. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to speak out of turn, but like a lot of people that get injured in war zones said that they give them almost like a new purpose, that they go on to achieve much more than perhaps that they wouldn't have done if they hadn't been injured. Would you say that's similar sort?
I would say yes. I always said this is we seem to get amplified of who we were before. When you come that close to death, you really amplifies who you are. I've always been that kind of goofy character. Never thought I would do stand-up comedy. I was more like, those TV shows or movies, Jackass, where they do crazy stunts and just to make people laugh doing dumb things. That'd been more me. You can dare me to do something, and I'd probably do it just to make you laugh. I have videos of me in 2005 with my soldiers, and I'm trying to motivate them, have fun, and we're putting 39-volt batteries together and seeing who could hang on the longest with 2 metal poles. Stuff like that I would do. I'd let my soldiers choke slam me through a table, let them have some fun and get some steam off and from all the crazy missions, and just have some fun with them and stuff like that. So I was always that goofy guy, but never thought I could do stand-up comedy. Never thought I could do motivational speaking. My wife makes fun of me because I mumble all the time. She never knows what I'm saying. She gets tired of saying what. But here I'm on stage talking to people and inspiring them. Never thought I'd be doing stuff like that. But for sure, like I said, if this didn't happen to me, my plan was to retire from the military, become a school bus driver. So I had summers off when I retired, and I'd ride my motorcycle around all summer having fun. That was my plan. That was my retirement plan.
Wow, it's miraculous how these things, how fate gets in and your whole life changes. But again, what I find inspiring by it, and I know that the viewers will as well. This is why I love having guests like yourself on, because you turn a life-changing event, a negative, into such a positive, and you can see you've got that aura about you. But I don't know how you managed to get on stage, because it's one of that is a nerve-wracking kind of thing. What was
Big
that
public
like the
fear.
first
Yeah.
time? It is, public speaking is a big fear of mine, you know.
Right. Well, here's what made it easier is, again, I went to all these stores or wherever I went, I got stared at in silence. So if I went up on stage and no one laughed that time, it felt like everywhere else I go. Right. And the other thing is, even if I got on stage and I bombed, it wouldn't be the worst time I bombed. Couldn't be that bad. It's a piece of cake.
I can see this podcast getting cancelled. Well, it's been a good run. It's been a great run. Thank you, Bobby.
Canceled for bullying. That's happened before, like on TikTok and stuff. I had videos removed for bullying, but I was making fun of myself.
Really?
I got in trouble for bullying myself, and now I've been on it long enough, that I don't get anything like that anymore. But when I first started, they thought I was bullying this guy, but they didn't realize it was me.
God. Well, that's it. You can put certain words, and this is where we've gone a little bit wrong in the world, where words, they're just words, and everyone's entitled to their opinion to be, offended, but it's not the end of the world, And
No.
I do love comedians like yourself that go out there and they still just tell it how it is and joke about inappropriate stuff, because that's the world. And like I say, I think big percentage of the population and stuff share that dark sense of humor. Everyone keeps it locked inside because their fear of the reaction that it may get.
Yeah, and that's what makes it easier when I go to even when I go to a comedy club. I'll do like the American Legions and the VFWs here and different venues. But the comedy clubs is probably the easiest because they come there to hear comedy. Like they want to be there. They're ready to open their minds. Now I still shock some people. If I'm not the headline comedian, they don't know I'm going to be there. And I walk out on stage looking like this. They're like, "Oh, what's happening here?" Like you see, they kind of sit back in their seats, like, "Oh, what's going to happen?" So I take advantage of that for sure. But I usually win them over. By the end of my set, that person, there are some people uncomfortable, and I'll usually call them out on it and stuff if I see that, and it makes them relax a little more when I call them out and I realize you're uncomfortable, But the best are like when I go to the veteran places like the American Legion, the VFWs, and do shows. I used to go to Canada like twice a year and do some shows up there. And one year, a bunch of British soldiers were there, and I did a show for them. And it was funny, some of the wording, even though I guess we were both speaking English, it didn't cross over, So some of the Americans have screwed it up with different puns and things that don't really cross over. So like some of it was funny and some of they didn't kind of get. But we had a lot of fun either way and understood just like, these conversations. We had a good time.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Have you ever been over to the UK and performed with comedy, or is that on the agenda?
That's on our agenda. We've been trying to get over there in Australia. Like I said, I used to go to Canada twice a year since COVID. We haven't been back to Canada yet, unfortunately. Our schedules have been crazy, but no, we would love to get over to the UK and do some comedy, do some motivational speaking, help out with veteran suicide and the mental health side as much as we can. We've learned some little things. We've had some of your guys come over, and we're doing some mental health stuff with us over here, helping our first responders. And I actually let them stay in my house while they were over here. They were trying to help first responders in North Carolina and at Fort Bragg. So I was like, hey, I'm staying over at my time. My wife was my girlfriend. I'm staying with her house. My house is open, and I let them stay rent free while they did some service over here to help us. So yeah, I would love to come back over there and repay it and do what I can to help out for sure.
Yeah, well, I think you'd go down and hit over here just by speaking to you and the way you present yourself. I think it would be great for you if you did get over here. I'd definitely come to see you, 100%. What have you got coming up in the future, Bobby? I want to ask you about the motivational speaker, because you travel all over to kind of. Do you go overseas to conflict zones as well? And
I have early on. I went back. Starting 2011 to 2016, somewhere in there. I went back 3 times and I spoke to the troops and did comedy in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Kuwait. Haven't had any overseas stuff for a while. I've done Mexico, Canada, but I would love to go back to on bases. I've done bases around the United States. But yeah, like to go to, I speak at businesses. I was just in Utah speaking at a business. I just did a fundraiser event in Nebraska, sharing my story and trying to inspire others and also raise money to help veterans. So all kinds of stuff. We have our own nonprofit now too, where we do retreats with veterans. And it's a 3-day retreat. We do outlets. So it's what I learned that's helped me over the years is being out in Mother Nature, and it's writing comedy, writing poetry, writing the songs, getting that stuff out, kayaking, hiking, Mother Nature, golfing. So now we do retreats. It's the Bobby Henline Foundation Forging Forward, and we're in April next year. We're going walleye fishing, and we brought in Canadians and flew them in and come to some of these retreats. So yeah, we tried to get a couple guys from the UK, but depending on family and stuff like that, what's going on, when we'd love to try to bring one of you guys in, or two of you guys, what we can afford to bring in, and come to one of these retreats, because you learn an outlet, whether it's kayaking, fishing, forging a knife out of a railroad spike. These little things that you can use, these tools, as I like to call them, it's your tools in your toolbox. There's not one thing that can help you. There's many things. You're many things. You're not just one thing, right? You have different talents and different likes, different strengths. We say, what's strong with you? Not what's wrong with you. We ask what's strong with you. You focus on your strengths to build your weakness. You use your strength to help others. Use those strengths that you have that in artistic views or Mother Nature and stuff like that. Again, you go out there, you learn these outlets that help you. We've had veterans that come that have never been kayaking. If you've never been kayaking out in the water like that and just going down a river, that's healing. It's therapeutic. Riding motorcycles. We help veterans now. We're helping veterans get motorcycles built for them through another nonprofit. We team up with other nonprofits. Not about us. It's a team, right? As countries, we fought as a team. As different units, we fight as teams. And nonprofits, we should fight as teams to combat the suicide prevention, to help with that. It's team up. So now we help other nonprofits. My wife helps do their web pages. I help them with social media, get the word out there to raise money. So many different ways that we can help. Like I like to say, is you do what you can with what you have where you're at. It's that simple. And you can make a big difference doing that.
No, absolutely. And I love the idea of the retreats. We do have companies, non-profit organizations over here as well doing the same sort of thing, where they
Right.
kind of get like-minded individuals. Because again, we talk about veterans don't like opening up to non-veterans. It's just the
Right.
way it is. Some do, some don't, but majority feel more comfortable with other veterans that have shared similar experiences.
Even
That's
first
neat.
responders, like we relate to first responders in a way. So that's what we do too. We also bring first responders into our retreats, and we mix the veterans. Some people are like, you should do firefighters alone. Sometimes we will, but a lot of times we like to mix that up, because a lot of firefighters, law enforcement, they were veterans first before they even went into that. But yeah, they need a lot of help too. And a lot of cops will go like, oh, well, I haven't did what you did. The police think that war is more dramatic, and I'm like, wait a minute, like we can go over another country, and now I'm home. If I'm having a bad day, I can say, all right, I'm not there right now. It's not happening. I can talk to myself. But they're seeing this trauma in their own neighborhoods. They may have just had a child die in their hands at a stoplight that they got to drive through with their child the next day in the backseat of their car. That's traumatic. That's bringing stuff back. That's really hard to live with, and people don't really think of it that way. So I try to, get them thinking a little differently. Like, no, you guys have it bad. You need help. So accept the help, damn it.
Yeah, I know. I get that as well. And I suppose
Yeah.
I've never really thought about that. Obviously, being a former firefighter, when you're working in and around your neighborhood and stuff, I kind of joke. I went to an older gentleman that hung himself off a bridge, and we went and cut him down. Now, inadvertently, I drive past that bridge quite regular when I go pick my kids up or when I travel that way, and every time I find myself looking at the spot, and that even that's a sign that you're remembering it, and you're kind of operating in your own neighborhoods. I kind of get that, actually. It kind of
those are triggers. We talk about triggers. Those are little triggers, those memories, that even sometimes if you're not thinking about it, your body feels it. Your body knows. Your mind knows subconsciously. Like there's a lot of stuff I don't remember. But we passed by a car that was on fire on the side of the road. Thought no big deal. That car's on fire. It's almost out. Firemen, everything's already there. It's just this kind of skeleton left. Everybody's safe. But as we're driving by it, like, oh, that car's on fire. It was like maybe 3 seconds after passing it, my body started sweating. I went into panic mode. I turned the AC up. I rolled the windows down. My wife was like, "What is wrong?" I just started crying. And I don't even remember being on fire. I don't remember getting hit by that IED. IED. I said IUD. That's one of my jokes I do.
That's something different.
Yeah, I do a joke about when I first met my wife. I was nervous, and we were about to make love for the first time, and I was like, "Oh, I don't have a condom." She's like, "Don't worry, I got an IUD." And I jumped off the bed and hid in the throw pillows and got down. Like, get out!
But yeah, that is.
There I go. I ran off the trail again.
No, it's fine. But it's like I say. That's like I say. You don't. The body reacts in sort of bizarre ways, doesn't it, to trauma? Yeah. And you think you're fine, but your body's telling you different, and it's reacting.
I didn't picture my vehicle on fire. I didn't picture me on fire. Nothing like that. And just boom, it just happened.
That's crazy, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. So yeah, the retreats, seems like you got your hands full with the retreats. I'm a big believer in getting outdoors. I preach a lot about if you feel down, you're feeling you're in a dark place. One of the best ways for me to combat it, and it's not for everyone, I understand that, but for me personally, I find if I just I live right on the edge of Sherwood Forest in a country park, so I go out, go for a walk around the woods, just an hour, half an hour. Instantly I feel better. Now, even that's a short-lived kind of experience, but then, those sort of things, being in the wilderness, massively helps with mental health. And obviously you're a big advocate for that as well.
Oh, yeah, it's huge. A lot of people don't even think about it. I mean, just the walk itself, even if you're walking around the city blocks, just the walking, the moving, the exercise. Like we always talk about physical health. A lot of people that if they don't exercise enough, they don't realize that physical, when you're working out, with the endorphins it hits, mentally, man, when I go to the gym, which I've been so lazy about lately, I'll tell you that for sure. I'm a little lazy. I need to get off my butt and get back in the routine. But because it helps me. Like that day, I have more energy the whole day. My mind starts thinking all these great ideas. That's when I think of these poems or these songs, and that stuff comes out in my head, and which is another way to get rid of stuff out of your head that's bothering you. Sometimes it's a positive poem. Sometimes it's about a dark problem I'm going through, questions in my own head of things that I've seen or done that I just got to get out and put it on pen and paper, and it's a relief, and then it turns into an art form, and then I can share that art form to help others. I just posted a poem yesterday, which I have probably 40 poems that I need to work on this book. I've been talking about it for years, and so yesterday I just put it together with a little video and had the computer speak the words for me because I have a raspy voice, so I thought I'd use a sexier voice from the computer. And just share that poetry just to get it out there somehow in a unique way that can reach people that maybe be struggling. And the feedback you see from the comments on it is they need to hear that. Whatever I was struggling with that day, they can relate in some other way. Like when I share my story, you share your story. People can relate in different ways. Just like we hear a song, someone writes a song and you and I both listen to that same song, we both enjoy that song. It may inspire you differently because of certain words and aspects of that song that some maybe experience I had. The reason that I relate to that song could be totally different, but it helps us both.
Yeah, with the songs, it always takes you back to a period of your life, doesn't it? I always find that if I hear songs that I'm instantly sort of taken back to 15 years of age at a house party, or whether I'm on tour somewhere, or do you know what I mean? Or a place in the world, you kind of relate.
And there's songs that bring me back to my mom cleaning the house on Saturday morning and just hanging out as a child and stuff like that. So it's amazing what it can do. And that's what songs are, stories. That's why we need to share our stories. It does the same thing. It helps people the same way.
Absolutely, Bobby. Absolutely. Well, look, Bobby, thank you firstly for coming on and sharing your story. It's not obviously an easy thing to talk about, but you've explained it, and I'm truly, and I don't want to sound patronizing when I say that, because people go inspired and they use that word, but I always say to people when I do these podcasts, for me, I take something away from every single guest. And what I've taken away from you is your mindset and your positivity in the face of adversity, and how you've taken that negative and turned it into a positive, not only for yourself, but for your family. And you're now back helping other people, other veterans transition and deal with their own mental. Is literally your personality and stuff like that. So I just want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for your service as well. Obviously, a veteran yourself like me, I thank you for your service, serving children, and thank you very much for everything you do for veterans now. It's massively appreciated from us across the pond.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Bobby, for now, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Continue doing what you're doing, brother.